So apparently Max Verstappen has made a not so diplomatic FIA insult. But let's have a look at what's been said here, guys, because obviously Max and, the FIA have not been on the best of terms, really. The FIA dishing out some very questionable penalties and punishments. Apparently he had a meeting with Mohammed bin Sulayem, the president, and they kind of smoothed things over after that, but I'm not sure what Verstappen has said. But let's have a look at what's going on here, because Dr. Helmut Marko, his team advisor at Red Bull, has also responded to these comments. So let's dive in, guys. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com as always. Max Verstappen may have added to his troubles with the FIA during the 2024 season finale in Abu Dhabi. It's now been confirmed that, for his community service penalty for using the F word in a recent FIA press conference, the quadruple world champion will meet with a bunch of young Rwandan drivers later this week. Oh, the Rwandan Grand Prix, guys, it's on the way, it's on the way. But the Red Bull driver, who was already scheduled to be in the African country to collect his World Championship trophy, could now be in additional trouble. When told on the radio about his 10-second penalty, I remember this one, for crashing into Oscar Piastri on the first lap in Sunday, Verstappen replied, "Could we ask for 20 seconds? Stupid idiots." Many believe the FIA will now be considering additional penalties for insulting the F1 stewards. Explaining his reaction, the Dutchman said, "I tried to pull out of it, but we touched. Of course, that's my mistake. For me, the most important thing was to apologise to Oscar because I had nothing to lose or gain, and he's also a friend of mine, so I don't want another bad relationship going into the winter break." He's already got one with George Russell, apparently, although they have potentially patched things up. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with those two. "I went straight to Oscar as soon as I could get out of the car. It was my mistake, but I expected maybe 20 seconds or 30 seconds or a stop-go or something even worse," Verstappen joked. "Maybe I can talk about it with the FIA in Rwanda," he laughed. The situation means that heading into 2025, Verstappen will spend about half the next season with 8 penalty points on his super license. If he gets to 12, he will have to serve a 1-race ban. "Maybe I'll make sure that I'm on 12 when the baby is born," Verstappen joked again. "Then I can go on paternity leave. I don't understand these penalties anymore, but it's fine. I'm not going to get angry about it because it's not worth my time. I'm just going to enjoy the holiday." A well-earned holiday as well. It's been an incredible year for him. When asked about Verstappen's stupid idiots insults to the stewards, Red Bull advisor Dr. Helmut Marko admitted, "That wasn't very diplomatic, but I also thought it was the case of let them race, especially as we are talking about the first lap. But he got 2 penalty points here and now he's on 8, so we have to be careful. Certain stewards give more severe punishments." Is Johnny Herbert one of those? Thoughts in the comments below, guys. But that's the problem that everybody has. I don't know if Herbert was actually stewarding this weekend, to be honest. I don't know who the race stewards were this weekend. More consistency would be better. Agreed. As for whether Verstappen should be penalised for insulting the FIA officials, Marko answered, "It's the emotions, and in the heat of the moment, you usually don't think very diplomatically, so maybe they shouldn't broadcast everything. In football, not everyone has a microphone always in their mouth, and I don't want to know what kind of comments they are making either. Probably for the best." Finally, when asked what he is most looking forward to about the winter break, Verstappen joked, "Not driving this car again. Put it in the museum and don't touch it again," he added. Yeah, it's not been the best car for him, in fairness, has it? But it was enough for him to win another title. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, 2 penalty points. I don't know what kind of criteria the stewards have, but for me, 2 penalty points for that start line incident is harsh because it's a start line crash effectively. I would personally either go for 1 or no penalty points. Now, I'm sure some people will look at the 10-second penalty and think that it's unfair, and I understand that viewpoint because 10-second penalty for me, that is quite a severe crash. I don't think there was any malice in what Verstappen was trying to do in turn 1. He was trying to go for a gap. It was optimistic. He tried to back out of it, got unsettled over the curbs, and as a result, he went into the side of Piastri. It was accidental. It wasn't deliberate. Yes, you could argue it was poor driving, but it wasn't. There was no kind of intent there for me, and you have to look at the context of it as well. There's no championship on the line. You know, Verstappen's already won it. Red Bull have already lost the constructors. There's nothing to race for other than pride at that point. So there's no question for me that Verstappen meant to do that. I don't think he meant to do it at all. I think it was just an honest mistake, which is rare for him. But what I will say is that normally I would say, well, this is too severe of a penalty. 10 seconds is the same as what Verstappen got punished with for each of his incidents in Mexico. Now, in my opinion, the incidents in Mexico with Verstappen, particularly the second one, were far more egregious and severe than what we saw there. And there's been other examples of people getting 5-second penalties and stuff like that for incidents that are more akin to what this is. However, what I will say is, and this is just going off what one of my good friends Ruby said on the Grid Talk podcast, which we did the race review for at the weekend. If you want to go check that out, of course, please do. But I heard, and guys, if I'm wrong on this, but I'm just going on what Ruby said, so hey, blame her, right? If I'm wrong on this, I've been fed false information, fake news, some would say. But she basically said that the drivers recently have been asking for more severe penalties for poor driving. Maybe it is a response to what happened with Verstappen in Mexico, I don't know. But since then, the stewards have been a lot more harsh on incidents. And if you look at the stewarding for this weekend in Abu Dhabi, you know, you had Oscar Piastri getting a 10-second penalty for the incident with Franco Colapinto, which I'd argue is worse. You know, that was, again, it wasn't deliberate. He didn't do it on purpose. It was really poor driving by Piastri, but he got caught out as well. So, you know, that being a 10-second penalty, Verstappen's being a 10-second penalty. I think there were some other penalties as well through this race that were 10 seconds or so. We also had Liam Lawson getting a 10-second stop-go penalty for something very different, you know, his wheels not being properly attached to his car. Did Magnussen get a 10-second penalty as well during that race? I think Bottas might have done as well. So there were a few drivers, and to be honest, I would say in this race weekend in isolation, I would say that the stewards were pretty consistent overall when it came to their punishments for the incidents, for the crashes during this weekend in Abu Dhabi. They're not perfect by any means. You know, the one, obviously the penalty we saw in Qatar for Max Verstappen was ridiculous in my opinion. The more I think about it, the more absolute load of bull it is, really, for lack of a better term. But when it comes to his comments in Abu Dhabi, because that's what this is ultimately about, you know, for me, I don't have a problem with what he said. He didn't even swear. Like, you know, he could have easily said something way worse than that, right? Let's be honest here. And at the end of the day, he says in his own words that he made a mistake and he apologized to Oscar Piastri, and Oscar Piastri said the same thing, that Max went up and apologized to him after the race, which of course, very gentlemanly and sporting thing to do, you know, good on him for that. That's the least you expect, but not everybody does it. And you can probably know what I'm trying to say about with that one without actually saying his name. So yeah, I think for that, you know, he's apologized, which obviously the stewards don't know he's going to go out of the car and apologize after the race. I don't think that Max should get any further action for what he said. You know, it would not surprise me if he does, because we know what MBS is like. We know that they don't like each other. They can't get on. They can't. I mean, MBS doesn't get on with Piastri. We've seen that. We've seen it with Hamilton as well this year. The drivers don't like him. I don't blame them at all. I don't like the guy either. I've never met him. Never had the displeasure of meeting him, but you know, I can't say I really get on with the guy. Just from what I've heard and seen about him, you know, he does not seem like a good guy. So I don't think he should get any punishment for it. Like Marko says, it's heat of the moment. He's in the car getting chucked around 150 or so miles an hour. G-forces going through his body. You know, he could have said a lot worse. If he gets some community service punishment for this is worse than the press conference one, because the press conference one, you could see it from the viewpoint of, well, it's an official work event, if you will. You know, it's an official meeting for your job. It's going out live around the world, and he actually used a swear word. Here, it's during a race. He's not sworn, and for me, he has a right to be annoyed. He's human. He has emotions. Do we want to see 20 robots going around the circuit for an hour and a half driving absolutely perfectly? No, we watch it because it's racing. We watch Formula One for the human element, and part of the human element is that these guys are emotional and they have opinions and they want to voice them. It is no different to any other sport. Football, how often do we see players complaining about a decision going against them? Every single time. We see it from the managers, the players, the fans, everybody. And it's the same in Formula One. It's exactly the same in Formula One. I don't see why Verstappen should get punished for this. It's a joke if he gets something on top of this. He made a mistake. He got punished. End of. The FIA do not need to involve themselves in this. And I am sorry for going on so long about this, but I'm very passionate about it because it's the principle of it. It's the principle of it. If we give the FIA an inch with this one, they will take a mile later down the line, and we don't want that. Have to stand up for it now. So hopefully this is the end here of this. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if I'm talking to you in a week or so time complaining about Verstappen getting a penalty. There's more community service. The man's going to get thrown in jail at this rate with the way that the FIA are going with him. Honestly, I get why people are saying that there's a conspiracy against him, that they don't like him, because there is evidence to support it. This isn't some crackpot, tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. And I say this as someone who's not a Max Verstappen fan, just a fan of Formula One. You know, it's obvious to even me that there's something going on here. There has to be. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. I think I've kind of aired my frustrations enough now. For much more F1 news and opinions, keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.